Hey, what's up, guys? This is MugenLord here, and yes, today we're going to be talking about Microsoft and the Xbox, because especially in 2023, it was a crazy year for Microsoft. We pretty much covered them a whole lot here on this channel, especially when it came to the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal that many people were wondering when will it end, and it finally, I guess you would say, officially closed when it came to the deal and how it would shape the gaming industry moving forward. Then we can't forget about some of the mishaps that they had, especially with the release of Redfall that caused a lot of controversy, and of course Starfield itself that really didn't hit the high note that Microsoft was hoping that it would hit, and many fans was arguing whether or not it should have been nominated for the Game of the Year. And then of course we can't forget about Sarah Bond, who has now been upgraded to the new CEO of Xbox as well. So there's a lot of things going on. But what's going on with 2024? Well, apparently there's some rumors speculating that a highly anticipated first-party exclusive Microsoft title that people have always been waiting for may be finding its way onto the Nintendo Switch or a Nintendo console platform on itself. So what could that title potentially be? So before we dive into this video, make sure to subscribe button and the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So we're going to dive right into it. I think this is pretty interesting because it's been trending here on Twitter about what that potential title could be. So on IGN, they have potentially covered or got some inside information from a user named Nate the Hate, who has a good track record when it comes to video game announcements. He teased that a critically acclaimed Xbox exclusive is set to launch on a competing console platform. And then of course Resetera user Lolito, who also had a good track record for video game announcements, then appeared to confirm that Tango Gameworks' Hi-Fi Rush is coming to the Nintendo Switch. That's right, Hi-Fi Rush, which is a title that I've really wanted to give a try because I have an Xbox Series X myself, but I was trying to hold out on it for the simple fact is that I wanted to have a physical release and hoping that it has a physical release, just like how I waited for Kena for the PS5, where that game was only released as digital, but eventually had a physical release, and I ended up buying it. And I was hoping that Tango Games would pretty much do the same thing for a Hi-Fi Rush, but apparently it may not ever be happening. I think it would probably only be digital, especially for the Xbox Game Pass itself, to get users to pretty much subscribe to that subscription service. But the fact is that that's being considered for the Nintendo Switch is also quite interesting. I think it will be a perfect fit for the title. And then as we move on, the article continues to state that Windows Central then reported that Microsoft has been exploring bringing some of its back catalog to other platforms, although some of the details remain vague and unconfirmed. IGN has asked Microsoft for comment, and this is something that Microsoft has always been alluding to or trying to have happen, as far as getting their first party titles onto other platforms, especially their console competitors such as Nintendo and PlayStation. So there's pretty much been a joke that was going around the internet, people making memes. Oh man, I would love to play Halo on PlayStation 5, or I would like to play Sea of Thieves on the Nintendo Switch. So Microsoft is definitely considering something like this. And I know there's fans out there who don't like that, for the simple fact is that you have fans who are pretty much console loyalists, or pretty much into being loyal to a particular brand, and they love their exclusives for their titles, for their consoles. And the fact is that if you're an Xbox fan who pretty much sit in that camp, hearing news that, hey, I'm putting all this money down for an Xbox console and for their exclusives, just for their exclusives to fall and land onto other, platforms. And I know that can be quite frustrating for those type of gamers, but me who own, multiple consoles myself, I always said to myself that, hey, only third-party titles, if we were to have exclusives, then first party titles should be exclusive. And then when it comes to third party titles, I think everybody should be able to have access to that no matter what platform that they're on. But it's also up to the developers themselves, like first party studios, to decide whether or not that, hey, you know what, let's just put this on here on other platforms. They still have their right to decide that. So there is kind of like a mixed feeling here when it comes to that decision, just hearing that. But in terms of Microsoft doing that, this is totally a move that I can pretty much see them doing, but I don't see Nintendo ever doing something like that, for the fact is that Nintendo themselves, they're first and foremost a game company and nothing more. Their bread and butter is video games itself, so their IPs are very important to them, and pretty much having their IPs, I doubt we'll ever see Mario or Link or Pikmin or any of their first party titles ever make it onto either PlayStation or even Xbox themselves, despite the friendly relationship that Microsoft has with Nintendo. I doubt we ever see something like that, is because that's pretty much Nintendo signing their death certificate if they're to give their IPs to, a chance to be on other platforms. But I digress. So then the article continues to say that the rumors came just 2 months after Xbox CFO Tim Stewart said Microsoft wants to bring first party games to every screen that can play games, including rivals consoles, which I just mentioned. And the Game Pass is the only way for that to happen. And the Game Pass itself is something that they really strongly believe in, and we talked about this before. When it comes to Microsoft, these guys are trying to play the long game. The long game is something that they're trying to do, and like I said before in many other videos, Microsoft is like Madara from Naruto, like how Madara planned his domination over the world years in advance and just waited patiently for that time. And it appears that Microsoft themselves, with the Xbox brand, they totally want to do something like that. They're trying to play the long game. They're not looking at short-term success. They're looking at long-term success. And the way for them to do that, they believe in the Xbox Game Pass, which in my personal opinion, I'm not a big fan of just this whole digital era. And this is what Microsoft sees, is that that's where they're going. They're going to the digital era when it comes to their games. But as I move on, the article then states that it's a bit of a change of strategy, Stewart said at the Wells Fargo TMT Summit in November. Not announcing anything broadly here, but our mission is to bring our first party experiences and our subscription services to every screen that can play games. That means smart TVs, that means mobile devices, that means that we would have a thought of as a competitor in the past, like PlayStation and Nintendo. We will also love to pretty much have Game Pass on there, and this is what they're trying to do. And if the rumors are also true about Microsoft coming with a mid-generation console that's supposed to be an all-digital Xbox Series X, I can see them pushing more emphasis on the Game Pass. And of course, even with the future of Microsoft, with the rumor that there could potentially a next generation Microsoft console coming just as early as 2026 in order to get ahead of the competition when it comes to Sony, and that can pretty much potentially be an all digital console, which I would call an Xbox Game Pass console, where subscription service is the main focus. In order for them to do that, in order to get a foothold on that, they would have to have their services on every platform, and that is the goal to them. Especially, it doesn't matter to them about their competitor with Sony and with Nintendo themselves. If they're able to get Game Pass on those platforms, especially get Game Pass on Sony PlayStation, that's essentially them tapping into the PlayStation ecosystem, the PlayStation demographic. Now that Xbox Game Pass is on there, they're tapping into that. And if they can get Game Pass on Nintendo Switch or whatever the future Nintendo console may be, that's also another situation where Microsoft would be able to tap into everything that Nintendo has. And Nintendo has a big install base, especially with the Nintendo Switch. So imagine Game Pass being on Nintendo Switch. That means Nintendo fans can now also be able to play Xbox games. And this has people questioning the future about, whether or not if Microsoft want to just go completely third party in this case, if all they're going to do is take their games and put it on other platforms. But I think, from Phil Spencer and what he's been saying ever since he did that apology tour, he admitted that, hey, we can't beat Sony this way, trying to sell the most consoles, because of this continuing digital library that carries over from one generation to the next. So apparently that these guys are trying to compete in a different way. Whether or not this will work, that will remain to be seen. But them acquiring so many different studios to add to this catalog of games on their Game Pass, it seems to be the strategy that they're going with. But it also scratches my head is that they're spending billions upon billions of dollars just for their competitors to still be able to have access to these games. So we would have to actually see how all this work out. But to even close out the article, it also states that they're trying to deny that this may be the fact, especially from Phil Spencer's end. But at the same time, we still keep seeing signs and signs again of this happening, and this rumor keep pushing emphasis on this Hi-Fi Rush situation and potential other Xbox first party exclusives making its way onto the platform. Now, some people believe that Hi-Fi Rush may not be the case, for the simple fact is that Hi-Fi Rush was also built for 60 frames per second because of the rhythm-based inputs that's required for the game. So people are wondering, like, could it be Hi-Fi Rush, or may it be something else? Especially when you look at the Nintendo Switch, 30 frames per second is something that people believe that Hi-Fi Rush probably wouldn't be able to support. But then it has people thinking that maybe it may not be for Nintendo Switch for the current iteration. Maybe it could release for Nintendo Switch 2 that we keep hearing rumors of, which I'll definitely be doing a video of in the near future. That I want to hear your thoughts and opinions of what we could expect from a Nintendo Switch 2 and what we like to have from that hardware. But this is just all speculation right now. We really don't know. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think that this will be the future for Microsoft, where you'll be able to have access to all their first party games no matter what platform that you're on? And do you think this is foolproof? Do you think that this is a smart strategy moving forward? Because I'll also say this, don't underestimate Microsoft too, especially if you're a Sony fan, because there's probably a chance or a possibility that Sony may even go this route eventually as well. This is not above Sony. I can see Sony also going all digital and start trying to put all of their games on different devices as well. I think Nintendo will be the last to go that route. But other than that, if you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe button for more gaming content here on this channel. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.